Good evening again. This is Ron Mata, gladly hosting the show and gladly hosting it for you folks. Glad you're watching it. Tonight we're doing a second part of the series that we began last week with Ray Hanna. And Ray is a board member of the Christian and Jews United for Israel, fairly new. But what's not fairly new, he's been the Boston chapter leader for some time of Act for America. And the subject tonight is Islam, again, but this time it's Islam and women in Islam. And Ray, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me again.
Glad you showed. Delighted. This is a hot button issue that everybody out there should learn something about because it's critical. Please tell us what's happening today in the world of Islam and its interrelationship with women.
Well, first, I want to let you know that you can't talk about Islam without talking about Sharia law. And Sharia law is Islamic law. It is the basis of every demand that Muslims make on our society. So, in the schools, when you give up a room for Islamic prayer, you are giving in to Sharia law. When our newspapers refuse to publish the cartoons of Muhammad, like the Danish cartoons, that's self-censorship, that's giving in to Sharia law. When demands are made of our hospitals to treat Muslim women in special ways, meaning you have to keep them covered, you can't do certain examinations, you can't expose them, you can't use a male doctor, things of that nature, we are giving in to Sharia law. And this is a death by 1,000 cuts. So the premise is that freedom of religion, freedom of religion, freedom of religion. And I grant it's fine that this is a great country where we all have freedom of religion. But Islam is not just religion. Islam has multiple components. It has the political, it has the military, it has the social. It's all encompassing. And so what I would like to say before we get into this subject is that as a Coptic Orthodox Christian, I wake up since 2001, September 11, I wake up every morning and I say to myself, what is it that I have to do to protect my wife and my daughter from Sharia law? And this is something that I wake up with and I go to sleep with. And sometimes my wife gets tired of it, but it is something that I keep in the back of my mind on a daily basis. Because people don't know this, but the country that I come from, Egypt, prior to 600 AD, was predominantly Christian. Why? Not because of the sword, but because people were willingly converted to Christianity. Islam comes in to Saudi Arabia and comes into northern Africa and sweeps through the Mediterranean and all the way up to Spain and all the way up to the gates of Vienna. Did they do it by doing the same thing that the Mormons do or the Jehovah's Witnesses do? They come to your door with a pamphlet? No. They come with a sword and they say, convert, pay the jizya, or die. So this is how 1,400 years of Islam has occurred. What I want to talk about today is how Sharia law affects women in Islam and outside of Islam.
Sounds great.
So we basically have to have an understanding of what we have in terms of precedents. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to talk a little bit about some of the things that are referenced and why Sharia law, as it pertains to women, is.
Please do.
So, Sharia law concerning women is the rule of law in Islamic families. Islamic families are paternal. Everything belongs to the patriarch. The wife, the children, all the property belong to the man. Muhammad was given to the world as the perfect example of how women are protected in Islam. So if we reference the surah and the hadith and see what Muhammad did, then it is okay to do the same thing as a Muslim man to a Muslim woman. The rights of Muslim women come from Allah. So these are just what some of the Islamic scholars claim. And I will tell you that the references that I use are from a book that is called The Reliance of the Traveler. The Reliance of the Traveler is a very thick book. It's very dry, but it was translated from Arabic to English, and it has the Al-Azhar Mosque imprimatur on it, which means that the highest learned Islamic teaching institution in the world has agreed that what is in this book is true. Okay. So I just want to make sure that people understand that I'm not bringing this stuff out of my own mind, or I'm bringing this stuff out of, a left-leaning book or a right-leaning book or a conservative or a this or a that. This is straight from the translation that the Al-Azhar University has given their imprimatur on as a true translation of the original documents.
Okay.
So, we can refer to some of the things that we are most knowledgeable about. We can talk about wife beatings is condoned in Islam. Islam's grand vision about women is given in one verse in the Quran, and that is chapter 4, verse 34. Allah has made men superior to women because men spend their wealth to support them. And therefore, virtuous women are obedient, and they are to guard their unseen parts as Allah has guarded them. As for women whom you fear that they will rebel, admonish them first, then send them into a separate bedroom, then beat them. But only if they are obedient after that, then do nothing further. Surely Allah is exalted and great. So, if your wife rebels against you or has a different opinion than the one that you give her, you admonish her first. Then you isolate her in a bedroom which she cannot come out of. If she is still rebellious, you can then beat her. And scholars in the Middle East actually have hours of debate on what is the right way to beat your wife. And this can be looked on YouTube. All you have to do is put in the Lexis, wife beating, Islam, Sharia law. And you will get more than enough information about where to beat them. You beat them on the thigh, you beat them behind the leg, you don't hit them in the face because you don't want to show that they're beaten in public. There are hours and hours of debates that occur in the Middle East between sheikhs and imam on what is the right way to beat your wife.
Sounds like it's a dog training situation we have here. We're training a German Shepherd. If the Shepherd varies a little bit, you admonish it. This is insane. But I'm sorry.
That's all right. This comes from the Surah, chapter 10, verse 12. When a husband notices signs of rebelliousness from his wife, whether in words or when she answers him coldly when she used to do so politely, or he asks her to come to bed and she refuses. So in Islam, if a man wants to have conjugal visits with his wife, he can do so at any time, whether she wants to or not. And if she refuses, this is being disobedient. So she can't say, honey, I have a headache, or not tonight, or I'm experiencing
whatever.
Yeah. I can't be with you. She has to be obedient. And if she's not, this is a way for him to be able to enforce what Muhammad has given him the right to do. So, he can warn her to fear Allah concerning the rights that you owe me. And this is how he has to say it. Fear Allah concerning the rights that you owe to me. If she continues to commit rebellion, he keeps from sleeping with her, meaning having conjugal or sexual relations with her, and refuses to speak to her, and may hit her, but not in a way that injures her, meaning he may not bruise her, break a bone, wound her, or cause blood to flow. So there are certain guidelines that you have to maintain. Now, recently on Facebook, there was a small video of a Pakistani Muslim, intoxicated, was drinking, and his wife, so he's drinking, he's intoxicated, and he's singing off key. And so his wife tells him, stop drinking, your singing is horrible. So you see the guy, he's smiling in the video and he's really having a good time. In a split second, you see his face turn sour. He gets up and he literally beats the woman with his foot on her face, which is against the rule, kicks her in the stomach, and then the person that's videotaping him actually pulls him away from her because he's given her enough of a lesson. Her daughter picks her up and they run out. And as they're running out, the wife throws the bottle back in the hut. And he runs after her and chases her. So he breaks the rule by being intoxicated. He breaks the rule by kicking her or stomping on her face with his foot. And he beats her in the stomach. But this is all okay because according to the Quran and the way of Muhammad, this is what men are allowed to do to women. So, two other places that I want to talk about. The Bukhari is a piece that talks specifically about what the Prophet himself said. And he says, none of you should flog his wife as he flogs a slave and then have sexual intercourse with her in the last part of the day. Most of those in hell will be women. Now this came specifically out of Muhammad's mouth. So if you're going to beat your wife, you can't have sexual intercourse with her. But the fact that you either have to beat her or not have sex with her means that most women will end up in hell. And this you can go on and on from one doctrine to the next as to how they treat their women. Now, go ahead.
My question is that kind of a universal approach, or is that something that focuses in certain parts of the world? Or if you're a Muslim and you believe this is the case, and you believe in Sharia law, this is how you're supposed to be treating your wife.
So there's a saying in Arabic, and this is something that I heard from my relative jokingly once. He says, "It's so funny how they wake them up with a beating and they put them to bed with a beating." So in Arabic you'd say, "Bi'awimha ba'al'a" and "Binawimha ba'al'a." Al'a is a beating. Mm-hmm. So he wakes her up with a beating and he puts her to bed with a beating. Do all men practice that? No. Do I say not all Muslim men treat their women that way? This is true. Not all men treat their women this way. But according to Sharia, if you go to one of the 85 Sharia courts in the United Kingdom that run in parallel with British law and British courts, if a man takes his wife to a Sharia court and she complains that he's beating me, he'll say, "Well, why were you disobedient? Did you not prepare yourself for your husband adequately? Did you cook him his meal so that when he comes home, he gets to eat his favorite thing so that he is good to you?" So no matter what happens, it's always the woman's fault as to why something happened to her. Just real quick, I want to read a couple of things so that if people want to reference, they can go back to chapter and verse. Quran chapter 4, verse 11. "It is in the manner that Allah commands you concerning your children, male should receive a share equal to that of two females." So in Sharia law, if a man passes away, his son gets a full share, whatever it is, and the sisters and the mother get half shares. So if it's 100,000, he gets 50,000, the mother gets
whatever.
Yeah, the mother and the daughter get 25,000 each. But this is this is Sharia law in action. Women are inferior to men in intelligence and religion. This is straight from Bukhari, and you can go to Bukhari 16301. And this is just a very quick quote. This is a conversation between Muhammad and a couple of women. On his way to pray, Muhammad passed a group of women and he said, "Ladies, give to charities and donate money to the unfortunate, because I have witnessed that most of the people in hell are women." And they asked him, "Why is that?" And he answered, "I swear to you much and He answered them, "You swear too much and you show no gratitude to your husbands. I have never come across anyone more lacking in intelligence or ignorant of their religion than women. A careful and intelligent man could be misled by many of you." They responded, "What exactly are we lacking in intelligence or faith?" And Muhammad said to them, "Is it not true that in testimony, the testimony of one man is equal to that testimony of two women?" And after they had affirmed that this was true, Muhammad said, "That illustrates that women are lacking in intelligence. Is it not also true that women may not pray or fast during their menstrual cycle?" And they said, "Yes, this is also true." And Muhammad then said that this illustrates that women are lacking in their religion. So because women menstruate, they lack in their religion because they can't go to mosque and pray during that time. And this can be seen because in Dearborn, Michigan, there is prayer allowed in the schools. And instead of taking them for Friday prayers, to a mosque, which is quote-unquote inconvenient, they say we need the auditorium or we need the cafeteria for our afternoon prayers. So what do? The boys come in through the front of the auditorium. The girls come in through the back of the auditorium and sit behind the boys. And any girls that are menstruating have to sit way in the back, and they are not allowed to pray or speak while prayers are going on. And this is documented in Dearborn, Michigan, in New York, Florida, Tennessee. It is everywhere. So when people say, oh, Sharia law, that's over there, no, it is over here. And it is most offensive to women. So I just wanted to read to you, this is a direct translation from the Bukhari about what Muhammad's dialogue to women was. Now we all know that Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and consummated that marriage at 9 years. By today's standards, what is the definition of a man that does that to a girl?
He's a pedophile, rapist.
But this is okay in Islam. I'll give you a quick story, and this is something that people can also go to YouTube and look at. When Ayatollah Khomeini was still around and was in his late 70s or early 80s, he went to another imam's house, and the imam was honored to have the Ayatollah in his house. And he said to him, whatever is mine is yours. And he asked him for his 5-year-old daughter. And the imam says, if you think that it is right and okay, then it's right and okay by me. And that imam had to hear that girl scream and yell while the Ayatollah had his way with her. And this is being told by the imam that this happened to his daughter because Muhammad said it was okay. I don't take anything, I don't bring anything to the table that I don't know is already out there, that isn't translatable. So if anybody wants to see this video, they can go to Middle East Media Research Institute, MEMRI, and they can look up the direct translation because the person is speaking in Arabic. And you have to look at the translation below to understand what he's saying. But you can see this YouTube video of this imam telling the story of what the Ayatollah did to his 5-year-old daughter.
Those folks who know me know that I'm generally not at a loss for words. Listening to stories like this, you bet I am. My question to you is, we're in the 21st century now, there's all sorts of media, all sorts of technology, etc. What is happening within the female Muslim community? Are they in any way able to push back at this? Are they still accepting it because that's the way it's supposed to be? Where are we today?
Mostly, because they're kept at a low education level, mostly this is what is happening in the Middle East and in Northern Africa. You have uneducated girls that have no idea what is out in the world. The one big exception, I will say, are areas such as Egypt, where there is a lot of, dare I say the word, progressive movements by women that are helping to liberate them. There are women that go to university. There are women that are able to go outside of the country and study abroad. So there are opportunities and there are certain, but that is a minority. The most that live in agrarian and unindustrialized regions are of this manner. I mean, I just want to bring one huge issue to light before we conclude this session, and that is female genital mutilation, or female circumcision, as they would like to call it in the culture of Islam. Now, it's predominantly cultural, but because of the lack of education, it continues on until today, and it continues here in the United States.
Continues.
They have been, and one of the things that Act for America has, that people can go to actforamerica.org and petition, they actually have a female genital mutilation outlaw bill. Because what's happening is two things. Either they're doing it here and getting away with it, or they are taking the girls abroad, having it done, and then bringing them back. And so the what we term the FGM bill, it says that if you do anything like that, that you are breaking state law. So there is federal precedence to it, but on a state-by-state case, we are going through, and we have passed it in a couple of states already, and it's in the works and in the mill in several other states. So that's where I'd like to say. So when I don't just come here to hopefully enlighten a little bit, but I'm trying to also tell people that they need to act, and you can act by going to actforamerica.org and going to the FGM bill and see if you can present this to a local congressperson or a local state senatorial person in your community and see if they will sponsor. The female genital mutilation aspect of it, some people say, oh, this is not in the Quran. Well, if you read the Bukhari, which is his life history, chapter 7, 72, phrase 779, Muhammad says, 5 practices are characteristics of ancient prophets: circumcision, shaving of pubic hair, cutting the mustache short, clipping the nails, and debilitating hair from the armpits. I know that we have to go, but this is stuff that you can see. If you read the Quran, if you read the Surah, if you see the Hadith, you can definitely tell that female genital mutilation is referenced and should be banned in the United States.
Folks, as we sign off, go on actforamerica.org, sign the petition. If you have a wife, an aunt, a daughter, a girlfriend, any female, you owe this to them. Get it done. Thanks for watching. Ray, thank you for joining.